Here's how the Aliencell X 160 watts will be delivered. Inside the package, as usual, we find some sample materials: plywood, acrylic, and synthetic fabric. There's also a printed manual. Here is the engraver, well packaged and protected by this nylon cover. Now I just need to figure out how to lift it and remove the Velcro straps. It's heavy, but with the right approach I can place it on my test bench. First impression, a bit of a strange feeling. There's a lot of plastic, but I like the design. Very elegant, imposing, and quite heavy. So the plastic is clearly just an external shell. If you're wondering where all the accessories are, they're inside the engraver. One thing I immediately notice is the dual camera system. Inside we find the aluminum slats, the fume extractor with built-in filtering system, and a very particular air assist kit. And here's the 60 watt laser module. I have to say it's not huge but very compact, and it features dual cooling fans. We also have connection cables, a generic accessory kit, and some slate samples. Additionally, there's an exhaust hose and a pair of protective glasses. So this is everything included with the engraver. Now let's see what this laser engraver really looks like once all the protective films are removed. Beautiful, elegant and compact. I really like the overall design. Now I'm going to connect the air extraction system, which needs to be installed on the rear side. Make sure to install the filters before mounting it. Then we connect the exhaust hose. The compressor is powered on, so let's do a quick test. It can be operated in manual or automatic mode. The airflow output is really impressive. Before making the laser engraver operational, we need to release the moving gantry by removing a few safety screws. Installing the laser head is very simple. Just connect the air tube and the power connector, then lock the head in place using the side lever. The drawer is well designed. It opens easily and allows you to remove debris generated during cutting. Now I install all the aluminum slats. Very good, although alternatively we can also use a honeycomb bed. To enable the machine for the first use, we need to insert the USB key to unlock the safety protection. I immediately notice a very nice full-color touchscreen display that guides us through the initial setup. First it asks for an internet connection, then it proceeds with the motor calibration. Don't be alarmed if the machine starts vibrating strongly. It's normal, it's a resonance test. Once calibration is complete, it asks for a firmware update, which I perform immediately. Then I also update the compressor firmware. The machine is now configured and connected to the external exhaust hose. The semi-rigid white tube looks really nice. Now we need to download the native software from the official website. In the download section, click on Software and you can download the version for Windows or Mac. The interface is very simple. As you can see, the working area changes depending on the installed laser module. The 60 watt version has a slightly reduced workspace. Important, we need to set the processing mode in the software. In this case, I select the mode for aluminum slats. There are also presets that help with common materials, where you can also input the thickness. Once the machine is connected via USB cable, we can already start using it. Just place the material on the bed and take a photo of the working area. Besides the high image quality, I don't notice any distortion or optical aberrations. Now let's move on to autofocus, which is very simple. We can choose the exact point where we want to set the focus. This is a great feature, especially when working with very small objects. In this way, we can be sure to focus precisely on the correct spot. For example, if you need to focus on a very small and irregular object like this function ensures accuracy without any risk. After focusing, the image will slightly adjust depending on the material thickness. At the bottom, we find tools to import images for engraving, create geometric shapes, add text, or use preloaded designs from an internal library. If we want to use this Halloween pumpkin design, we simply import it and resize it over the image of the wooden board. On the right side, we find the tools that allow us to choose between cutting and engraving. If we enable advanced settings, we can define a minimum and maximum power range, set the speed in millimeters per second, choose the scanning mode, and even adjust the power percentage of the air assist kit and the air filtration system. I'd also like to show a key feature of the software, the ability to set path priority so that internal cuts are performed before the outer contour. We can also view a virtual preview before starting the job. As you can see, the software accurately simulates the sequence. Inner shapes are processed first, followed by the outer outline. Another very impressive feature is the ability to monitor the job remotely in real time. This allows you to leave the laser engraver running while keeping full control of the process from a distance, safely and conveniently. Finally, a material test done properly. We can choose the base shape and decide whether to run a cutting test or an engraving test. From that shape, we can generate a fully customizable grid, setting everything: number of rows and columns, space in between each element, and the minimum and maximum ranges for power and speed. Once generated, the grid is completely editable. We have two separate layers, one for the squares and one for the text. As you can see, each square has its own parameters. But the most interesting part is that we can also modify the properties of the individual labels. In this case, for example, I set bold lines that do not cut through with the air assist turned off. This allows us to create extremely precise, high-quality material tests. This is an MDF sheet, and finding the right cutting or engraving settings is never immediate. That's why a simple method is used: running a cut and engraving test. Here's the result. From this we can decide: more power to finish the job faster, or a slower process with lower, more controlled power. For engravings instead, we can adjust the tone, going from lighter to darker, to achieve different shading effects. To show you an example, I created a logo using these variations, taken directly from the material test, to get a much cleaner and more professional result. The advantage? Once you find the perfect setup, you just keep the sample and reuse those settings every time. Another useful feature is the real-time preview directly on the machine's display, so you can always see what is being engraved or cut. I also tested the air quality sensor based on PM10 and AQI, air quality index. With the machine closed, it stayed around 003, which means clean air. Then I ran a job with the lid open and the value increased up to 019, showing the presence of particles. This proves the system reacts correctly and warns you when air quality gets worse.